Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Linda from lindaspapercraft.co.uk and I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator, and we are on week 5 of October 2025's coffee and card using the Delicate Pines bundles, and today we are using dies. We are doing lots of die. Well, I've already done lots of die cutting, and I think probably it's worth you doing so too before you start watching, or you can watch and do it later. I don't know how you make your cards, whether you make them along with me or watch and then do it afterwards. So the 3 dies we need are the fronds, the pine cone and the little berries, the 3 little berries. And what you need to do now, you can either stamp and cut out 6 of those, and then cut out 2 lots of those, or you can do what I've done, in that is I die cut them all out and then stamp them using a stamping platform, which I'll show you how I did in a moment. So it's up to you whether you stamp and die cut, or die cut then stamp if you have a stamping platform, or you're very good at lining up stamps. I must admit I wouldn't try doing that without the stamping platform. So and I've also embossed this with the Damask Designs embossing folders, so you can either leave it plain or use one of your embossing folders you've got at home. I've got a couple with snowflakes on from last year. There's one, Snowflake Skies. I think that would look really nice. So, you know, have a play, have a look at what you've got in your stash, because we've all got loads that we don't use enough. But as I say, I used Damask Designs, which I think is on the last chance list. Actually, I think it's only just available. Don't quote me on that, I'm not sure. Right, okay, so let's do. Now, I've already stamped most of my fronds and cones in Shaded Spruce, Pretty Peacock and Early Espresso, but I've got 2 more to do, and I've cut out my little berries as well. You've also got in your kit a circle that I've cut out of, actually it's card that I just happen to have, but it's nice and thick, which is why I've used it, and because it's going to be hidden. It's just a the largest and second largest stylish shaped circles cut out at the same time to give me a wreath form, if you like. And then I've got some, I was looking for that a minute ago. I've made another one. I'll show you in a sec. A piece to do your sentiment that we're going to cut down to size after we've stamped. My basic white, which is 12 centimetres squared. This cherry cobbler is 12.5 centimetres, and then I've got my 13.5 centimetre card blank and an envelope. All the measurements are down below that you can have a check. And I need a cherry cobbler ink, which I haven't got out. Cherry cobbler, there it is. Favourite Christmas colour by far. Right, okay, so let's make this wreath. So we'll do the rest of the stamping. So what I've got here is I've cut out the 2 shapes that I want. Let's just get everything back lined up, because that just lifted everything. So, and what I've done is I've cut out the cone and the frond, and I've stamped the cone and then positioned the stencil, for want of a better word, round it. And so I'm going to take my cone out of here. I'll take them both out. So there's my frond, which we'll do in a second. And here's my cone. And I'll leave those in there because they are going to get lost if I take them out. Okay, and I'm just putting that in the hole. So it's in the hole that we die cut out. So it will fit perfectly. There we go. And then I shall take my Early Espresso, ink up the stamp, and then it will generally stick to them. There we go, perfect cone. So it's much easier to randomly cut out 6 cones and then stamp them. And then I'm going to clean that and do the other frond to show you how I set that up. So to take off the magnet and the 2 pieces of die tape. So Craft Perfect die tape I get off Amazon. It's really, in fact, actually I bought this lot from Tonic Studios because it's not always available on Amazon, but it really is. It's slightly less stickier than washi tape. so it doesn't leave the residue that washi tape leaves, and it doesn't tear your card either. So I use it when I'm die cutting because that's what for, but it's good for this as well. So I've positioned that outline there, and I'm just going to pop my magnet back on. I'm going to put a little one in the corner there just to hold it in place. Okay, and then I am with my shaded spruce inking up my frond. Put frond in place, sorry. There we go. Put the frond in place and then stamp it. Okay, and then whip that off. So there we go, beautifully, a little bit off straight. When you do line this up, stand over it so you know that you're perfectly lined up, because you can see my other ones. I mean, that one, it doesn't matter, but the other ones are better lined up than this one is, but it's not far off. And we are handcrafted, not machine made in China. Right, so that's done with that. So the wreath, how do we make the wreath? So pop that to one side and get my circle. So there are 6 of everything, basically. So what I do is I tend to position this roughly there. I'm just going to mark with a pencil the middle of the top and bottom. Okay, so, and then I'm going to take one of my, so one of each colour. Okay, so I've got a peacock, pretty peacock, and a shaded spruce. Okay, and I'm just going to glue the ends because I will need to go under some of them. Okay, so I'm just gluing the end and popping it, following around the circle on that pencil mark. So okay, so you can see we're following around the circle, but I've only glued the root. Before I go any further, I'm going to get out my silicone mat so it doesn't slide everywhere while I'm doing it. So I've done that with the top. I'm going to do that the same at the bottom, and this will mean we'll get even all the way round. Glue, glue, glue. So again, just at the root of the frond, and stick it here, following the circle. Okay. There we go. And then we're going to have a shaded spruce and a pretty peacock on this side, and then the same on the other. So I'm going to put this one on next. So now this one I can put more glue on because nothing's going under it. Okay, so in fact I think probably what I'm going to do is actually put the glue on the circle. Okay. And then, so that's going to be, I'm just putting that there as a guide so they can see roughly where we want them. So there's one there, and then this time I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the root and a little bit of glue on the circle. And that is going to slide in under there like so. There we go. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. So we've got a pretty peacock going there, and then we'll have, now this is why you only glue the bottom, so that we can slide that one under. Okay, and then you have a wreath. So let's stick these on. So on there and sort of a bit on here. Put that one following the circle round. What about there? Let's see. It's going to go, yeah, maybe a bit more. Whoops. Nice thing about the silicone mat is you're not getting glue all over your paper. And then this last one, I'm going to put some glue on the root, some glue on the circle. Slide that under. So you can do this method with any foliage. Which one are we doing? That one. Right. There we go. Okay, so we've roughly got a circle there. How cute is that? So there we are, our wreath. And now we're going to decorate our wreath. Oops, that one is not stuck down yet, Linda. Okay. And now we're going to add our other bits. Okay, so we've got, I went with the cones next. And I just sort of put them where the two meet. Okay, so again, a little bit of glue where they're going. And pop your cone in. Okay, so, and it's fairly random. I had them sticking in and sticking out. So again, a little bit of glue. I think this one, because it is quite in, we're going to stick that one coming in this way, and then this one we're going to do the other way. So more that way as you go around. I think I might actually leave the lid off my glue. It's always a gamble that it clogs up if you do. Okay. Oops, that one's moved. So about there. Okay, that's a bit more hidey than the others are. This one coming in from out of there. See, that one I've put slightly sort of behind that one and in front of this one. Just have a play. And then the last one. Oh, broken with tradition and put glue on the actual cone. There we go. Okay, so we've got the cones in, so we just need our little red berries, which we will finally get out. Let's put them on there, then they don't all fall over or whiz over. Turn them over so they're ready to pick up. Pick up tool. Okay, so where did I put them? Right, okay, so I put them sort of on here. So 1, 2. Whoop. Yeah, sort of there. So that's 3 to start with. Wrong lid. So, and I'm just going to blob those on where the glue is. Just adding some colour to my wreath. Okay, and then again, little dot, little dot, little dot, and put the final 3 on. And there we go, one wreath. How cool is that? So that's not taking me long to do at all. And you can do this, as I say, with any foliage, die cuts, punched leaves, whatever you want. Your big secret is having your circle to start with. So that's your base, and then you can build your wreath, and then you can add it to your card, and you can add it on dimensional, so it gives a little bit more woof. Right, so sentiment. Now, I would love there was a die, that I had a die to cut this out, because you know I am Mrs. Die Cut, but there isn't. So what I've done is I've popped some card into your pack, and I'm going to cut it, show you how I cut it down to size using my trimmer. So we have some cherry cobbler. Okay. And I am going to try and stamp it as straight as possible. Doesn't matter if it's not. It's fairly straight, I think. So let's just put the lid on the ink. Pop that out of the way and get my trimmer out. So if you look at your trimmer, whatever make they are, they have a profile. It's difficult to get under the camera. Let me see if you can see. There are various ridges which if you can see at the end there, you can just see where the plastic goes up and down. So I'm using these ridges to line up where I want my sentiment. Okay, so I'm going to move that out of the way so that you can see what I'm doing. If we got the scale in just there, we are. I've just realised I've only got one light on. I've not put my other light on. Sorry. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pop my sentiment in, and I am doing it so, I don't know if you can see, like the S and the C are on this. So that's the cutting groove, and then it's like a mountain, and it's just on that mountain. I can tell by looking through because of the diffraction of the actual ink that's where it is. Now hold it straight. You can see I hadn't stamped it straight, and I'm going to cut it like that, so you see it's just below that piece. Those, what's the word I'm looking for? Letters, right? So now I'm going to put that straight down here, and just because I know this wasn't completely, it's not far off straight, but it's not actually straight. Okay, and then what I can do is the same again on this side, but I know I'm straight when I put it here. Okay, and I'm just going to move it so it's just on that line again. So I'm just looking through, and I can, it's just disappearing probably on that one. I'm not sure I'm completely straight there. There we go. If I do it on the S, because I suspect the S is slightly higher than the C, so I've done it so the S is just appearing on this little ridge here. Cut that down, and there you go. You see, celebrate the season. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it at an angle. Doesn't matter what angle you cut it. And again, I'm lining that C up with that ridge, and I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to flip it round, and I'm going to do two things now. I'm going to line up with the N on that ridge there, but then I'm going to twist it so it's parallel to one of these lines, and that way you're going to get the same angle on both ends. There we go. So this is the world of YouTube. So if you want to rewind and watch that again, that's absolutely fine, because it is a bit complicated, but once you've got the hang of this, you can make anything to go around a sentiment. So it's quite useful. Ooh, I just wonder, just as I put that there, what do we think? The trouble is we're hiding two of the berries, which is not good. And also we are, let's see, let's have a play, shall we? Right, so we've got our card. I'm just going to bone fold it, if I can find my bone folder. New account. I've done with it, I had it a minute ago. No. You know, 90% of crafting is trying to find something you had in your hand a minute ago. It was real, that is not the fold. That was the fold. So I say don't put it down, put it away. Right, so I'm going to glue this. I'm really torn on this, which way is the bottom. I'm going with that one. Yeah, because the thing is, it's this way. So you'd actually think that was the bottom, but I think that looks a bit odd sideways. Who knows? It is personal preference. So how's everyone's Christmas cards going? I'm fortunate because I run so many Christmas card classes, and I do Christmas kit and my Christmas coffee and card. So, you know, all these will go in my Christmas card box. So I have quite a few already done. But then my husband will come and say, can you do me 30? That's when we go back to last week's card that was nice and simple and lots of just stamping. So I can mass produce them. And that, you know, it's a single layer. These are going to special people who I know will treasure them and understand how long they took to make. Right, we're going that way. Okay, there we go. So if we do that and put that there. Oh, if I do it that way, it's still hiding some of the stuff. I'm hiding the cones. If I do, I quite like that. I think we're going to do that. So what I'm going to do is put some glue on either end, but not in the middle. Okay, and I'm actually hiding cones rather than, I've got them sort of peeping through a bit. Okay, and then I'm going to flip that over and get my dimensionals. If I can get them out. And I'm just going to go all the way around. Now I'm going to put a couple of sentiments across the middle, dimensionals across the middle here, but I'm not actually going to glue them down. I'm not going to take the tops off because I know it fractions of millimeters higher than the actual wreath, so I'm doing that so it doesn't get squashed, but I don't want to squash it down, if you see what I mean. So I'm just going to take these off round the side. Oh, somebody's at the door. Hopefully somebody's going to answer that for me, because I am not the only person in the house. Oh, that's my daughter, one of my daughter, well, the daughter who doesn't live here, so that's fine. It's been dealt with. I don't have to disappear. There we go. So, oh, do you know, I think I prefer that. It's difficult to say. Right, okay then, so that's me done for October. So November's coffee and card is using traditional labels, dies and stamps with lots of different designer series paper, which I shall be recording soon. Take care, speak soon, bye.